Hello students! So this is kind of weird, right? You're probably wondering why you're watching a video right now, and it turns out that my wife, who is very, very pregnant, went into labor this morning. So right now, at this moment, I happen to be at the hospital, and very soon I'm going to have a baby girl to take home, which I'm very excited about. But obviously, timing couldn't have been better, huh? So unfortunately, I'm not going to be there with you guys tonight, and for that, I'm sorry. Because this really is an amazing class. You guys really are. And when I think back to what you've done, I can come up with quite a bit of ways that you've influenced me. This class has introduced me to such wonders as Jetpack Joyride, hashtags, and the phrase YOLO. This class has taught me about priorities. For example, no matter how late you might be to my first hour class, you always make time to swing by Starbucks first. And why wouldn't you? YOLO. This class, when I show up to school thinking I'm all awesome in my brand spanking new Banana Republic sweater, you guys were willing to knock me down a peg by saying, "You know, Mr. Sanger, I've never seen a man wear a sweater like that before." And speaking of fashion, two of you even went so far as to buy me my very own pair of jean shorts after I commented on how disturbingly short your friend's pair was. And granted, all evidence suggested that you hadn't bothered to launder this pair and that they were in fact used. Still, what a wonderful gesture. So the bottom line is this is a fantastic class, a fantastic group of students, and as a teacher I couldn't ask for a better group of students to work with, and I thank you. So tonight marks the beginning of an incredible transition in your life. And that's what I want to talk to you about tonight, transitions. Specifically, I want to borrow a concept from a business consultant named William Bridges who identified three major phases to any transition: endings, the middle ground, and beginnings. And to illustrate this, I want to discuss one of the simplest, quickest transitions I've ever made in my entire life, the time I jumped out of an airplane. Now, first of all, you may be wondering how I find myself doing this. The answer is quite simple. A girl I like said, "Hey, you want to jump out of an airplane?" And I said, okay. And a few weeks later, I found myself at 3,000 feet hanging onto a beam underneath the wing of a plane. My guide said, "Ready?" I said, and I let go. And I was thrilled for the journey ahead. And I was terrified for the journey ahead. I was overwhelmingly excited to have let go, and yet I wanted nothing more than to grab back on. And I'm guessing that at that moment, what I was feeling is a lot like what you are feeling right now. Because right now, in this moment, you're in the same phase of transition that I was jumping out of that plane. Endings. And whether you loved your high school years or hated them, you're letting go of them and plunging into the great unknown. Now, just as I had to do a pre-flight inventory check, to make sure I had my parachute, that I had removed all my body piercings, etc. By the way, I have no body piercings. You also need to do a pre-flight inventory check. You need to figure out which aspects of life, which activities, which friendships, which little personality quirks you have, do you want to make sure that you carry over into the next phase? And which aspects of life are you ready to let go of because they belong in the past? It may surprise you to learn that back in high school, I actually had this kind of geeky science, Star Wars nerdy thing going. But clearly I let that go in order to become the personification of coolness that you see before you. So, yeah. Anyway, now that we've done our pre-flight check and let go of the plane, it's time for phase 2 of the transition, the middle ground. This is the most uncertain time of any transition as you work to figure out what's next. As I was falling towards the earth, I knew there was a landing zone somewhere out there that I was supposed to be aiming for, but I had only the vaguest notion of where that might be. It didn't feel like I was in control, but that my destiny was being determined by forces far greater than myself, as gravity pulled me much faster than I wanted to go, and the occasional gust of air blew me all over the place. To make matters worse, I was vulnerable up there. If a bird had flown overhead and decided to poop on me, there was not a thing I could do to stop it. Well, this is where you're headed, and you will feel out of control. You will feel vulnerable. You will feel uncertain. And I'd like to take a moment to highlight two mindsets that I think will help you navigate this uncertainty. The first mindset is this: there is no right or wrong way to navigate this middle ground. A few days ago, my 5-year-old son asked me, "Daddy, when will Mama be home?" And I said, "I'm not real sure, son. She works late tonight, I don't really know." And he said, "Then why don't you Google it?" And I thought that was very sweet. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized, gosh, a lot of adults get caught up in that same kind of thinking about the world. That there's this simple right or wrong, yes or no, easily Googleable answer to all of life's problems. And if we just do enough research or talk to enough people, the, quote, correct path to the future will become clear. Should I go to college? Google it. What career path should I pursue? Google it. How do I find the latest gossip on all my favorite Hollywood celebrities? Google it. Obviously, life just isn't that simple. There is no predefined right path for you to discover. You just have to stumble around looking for what feels right until you find a path that works for you. Personally, I find great comfort in this because it means that there's many possible routes through life. There is no wrong way, except on certain streets. I learned that the hard way. The second mindset to navigate this uncertainty is this. This is your story, and you need to write your own script. This is important because everywhere you look, you're going to be surrounded by people who think they know better. When I started middle school, I had this idea in my head that I was going to be this amazing basketball player. Evidence for this? Zero. Zilch. None. Nothing. This is an idea that other people had put in my head because from the moment I was born, everyone was telling me, "Wow, you're tall, you're going to be a great basketball player." And I let these people write my script. So, playing my part, I signed up for the team fully expecting to be the next Michael Jordan. Didn't turn out that way. I couldn't pass, I couldn't dribble, I couldn't shoot. I have a video of me taken at that time where I get hit in the head by the ball, I kid you not, 3 times during a 5-minute warm-up session. The third one actually knocking me over. I was clearly terrible at basketball. More importantly, I didn't even enjoy it. And yet I kept playing because I was following the script that other people had written for me. Whether you realize it or not, you've gotten all sorts of messages throughout your life from other people that have likely played a big part in the choices you've made thus far. But when you're in free fall, man, everyone's got something to say. You're doing a gap year next year? You're going to that college? You're majoring in education? Are you mad? These messages are simply turbulence, blowing your parachute around and causing you to second guess your trajectory. Now that's not to say you should ignore the advice of older, wiser people. Imagine if Luke Skywalker had ignored Obi-Wan Kenobi. Sorry, I forgot I'm a cool person now. Imagine if Frodo had ignored Gandalf. Your parents, your teachers, the other adults in your life, they've experienced more and therefore understand much more about how the world works than you possibly could. So listen to them. Think about what they have to say, and then decide for yourself which parts of their messages will become part of your life script. Now some of you are going to plummet through this middle ground for a few months, others a few years, still others even longer, particularly if your parents have a nice basement and let you eat their food. But eventually, all of you are going to near the ground, and it will be time to think about the final phase of transition, beginnings. This is the part you have to figure out. As you do, take comfort in the knowledge that the world is a very, very big place. And just as I managed to fall safely to the ground, so too will you. Along the way, you will experience moments of incredible inspiration and insight, like the time I realized that the tune to the ABC song is the same as Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And you will experience moments of nasty turbulence that may force an unexpected detour. But you will find a place. And as you ponder where that place might be, I encourage you to think of the words of Mr. Rogers, who once said, "The thing I notice about successful people is their obvious delight in what they're doing. And it seems to have very little to do with worldly success. They love what they're doing, and they show that enthusiasm in front of others." To the class of 2012, it has been a true pleasure to work with you, to learn with you, and to grow with you. And I can't think of anything I'd rather do right now than to take each one of you by the hand and give you a shove out of an airplane. Good luck, and thank you.